What would you do if a single crayon drawing from your 6-year-old son shattered your entire world into a million irreparable pieces? I never thought I'd be asking myself that question. Not until Mrs. Davison's number flashed on my phone at 2:17 p.m., a time usually reserved for work calls, not school emergencies. My heart hammered against my ribs, picturing a playground accident, scraped knee, anything but the quiet, measured tone in her voice as she asked, "Mr. Thompson, can you come to school?" It's about Leo's drawing. The fluorescent lights of the school hallway hummed, casting long, sterile shadows as she led me to a small table. There, on construction paper, was Leo's innocent, childish rendition of our family. Me, him, and Sarah. But next to Sarah, holding her hand, was a stick figure with a shock of red hair, a detail that made my blood run cold, because I knew exactly who that red hair belonged to. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel. Tell us where you're from and what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The drawing, titled My Family and Mommy's Friend, was a punch to the gut. Sarah, my wife of 10 years and a man I recognized instantly. Mark, her boss at Sterling & Co. in downtown Chicago. The same Mark she'd always dismissed as just a colleague, the one whose name had started appearing more frequently in her casual work anecdotes. Humiliation washed over me, a hot, sickening wave. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the public nature of it, drawn by our son, displayed in a classroom. Mrs. Davison, bless her kind heart, tried to soften the blow, suggesting it was just a child's imagination, but the truth was stark, undeniable. Over the next few weeks, Sarah's behavior, which I had previously dismissed as stress from her demanding job, began to click into place like grim puzzle pieces. Late nights at the office became more frequent, often accompanied by vague excuses about client dinners or urgent deadlines. Her phone, once left carelessly on the counter, was now a guarded extension of her hand, face down, notifications silenced. She'd disappear into the bedroom for important calls, her voice hushed, her back to the door. The intimacy between us withered, replaced by a chilling distance. When I tried to bridge it, she'd snap, accusing me of being needy or insecure. Her eyes, once warm and inviting, now held a cold, calculating glint I hadn't seen before. One Tuesday evening, after she'd claimed to be working late, I found a crumpled receipt in her coat pocket. It was from the Grand Hyatt on Michigan Avenue, dated last Friday, for 2 glasses of expensive champagne and a room service order for 2. My hands trembled as I held it, the paper crinkling like my crumbling marriage. That night, I waited until she was asleep, her phone charging beside her. My heart pounded as I picked it up, the screen unlocking with the passcode I knew by heart. The texts were there, a sickening trail of breadcrumbs. "Can't wait for Friday, my love, from Mark." "Me too, darling. He's so clueless," from Sarah. Each word was a dagger, twisting deeper into my chest. I scrolled through pictures, seeing them together, laughing, touching, in places I thought were sacred to us. The world tilted on its axis. Sarah, once caught, didn't even try to deny it. Instead, she became a master manipulator. She twisted my pain into my fault, accusing me of being controlling, of driving her away. "You're always so busy with your own projects, David," she'd sneer, her voice dripping with disdain. I needed someone who saw me. Mark, the smug bastard, even had the audacity to call me man to man to tell me to let her go. She deserves happiness. His voice was laced with a condescending pity that made my blood boil. They truly believed they were untouchable, their affair a grand romance, and I, the cuckolded husband, a mere inconvenience to be brushed aside. I remember one night, sitting in our living room, the silence deafening, the weight of her betrayal crushing me. I felt like a ghost in my own home, watching my life unravel. The tears came, hot and bitter, for the man I once was, for the future I thought we had, for the innocence of my son. I was broken utterly and completely. But amidst the despair, a cold, hard resolve began to form. They thought I was clueless, weak. They were wrong. I would not just survive this. I would make them regret every single lie, every stolen moment. My emotional breakdown was a turning point. From that day forward, I became a silent observer, a meticulous collector. I installed discreet cameras in the house, not to catch them, but to document her increasingly erratic and neglectful behavior towards Leo. I hired a private investigator. quiet man named Frank, who specialized in corporate espionage, not just marital infidelity. Frank tracked Mark's movements, his financial dealings, his company's vulnerabilities. I started backing up every text, every email, every phone record. I consulted with a divorce attorney, a sharp woman named Ms. Albright, in a discreet office building in downtown Los Angeles, far from Chicago. She laid out the legal landscape, the custody battles, the financial implications. I learned about at-fault divorces, about marital assets, about parental fitness. I learned about at-fault divorces, about marital assets, about parental fitness. I wasn't just planning a divorce, I was orchestrating a downfall. The traps were set with surgical precision. I subtly encouraged Sarah to invest heavily in a risky startup Mark was pushing, knowing his company was on shaky ground. I accidentally left documents detailing my own significant financial assets, making her believe she stood to gain a fortune in the divorce. I started spending more time with Leo, documenting every outing, every homework session, every bedtime story, creating an undeniable record of my active parenting. I even started a small anonymous blog, detailing the emotional toll of infidelity. Carefully crafting narratives that mirrored my situation without revealing specifics, building a sympathetic audience. The public exposure began subtly. An anonymous tip to the HR department at Sterling & Co. about an inappropriate relationship between a senior executive and a married subordinate, accompanied by carefully redacted screenshots of their texts. Then, a leak to a local gossip blog about a high-profile executive's questionable financial dealings. Hinting at a lavish lifestyle funded by dubious means, the pressure mounted. Sarah, oblivious, continued her charade, her arrogance growing with each perceived victory. Mark, however, started to sweat. His company's stock dipped, an internal investigation was launched, and his reputation began to crumble. The final act unfolded in a sterile courtroom in Dallas, Texas, where the divorce proceedings were moved for neutrality. Ms. Albright, with her calm demeanor and razor-sharp intellect, presented a mountain of evidence: the hotel receipts, the texts, and the surveillance footage of Sarah neglecting Leo, the financial irregularities tied to Mark. The judge, a stern woman with no patience for deceit, listened intently. Sarah, pale and trembling, tried to deny, to deflect, to charm, but her lies were exposed, one by one. The custody of Leo was awarded solely to me, with supervised visitation for her. The financial settlement was devastating for her. Her investments in Mark's failing company were worthless. Her share of our marital assets was significantly reduced due to her infidelity and reckless spending. Her career at Sterling & Co. was over, her reputation in tatters. Mark was facing criminal charges for fraud. I saw her once more, months later, in a coffee shop in a quiet suburb of Phoenix, Arizona. She looked hollow, her eyes vacant, a shadow of the vibrant, arrogant woman she once was. She didn't see me. I simply watched her, a stranger now, sipping her lukewarm coffee alone. There was no triumph, no joy, just a profound, chilling emptiness. The silence of a life rebuilt, free from her deceit, was the loudest sound of all. The end.